I'm going to share some random thoughts with you, and then I'm just going to talk. And there is a method to what I'm going to share with you, and it may not sound like it at first, but I promise it'll come together. All right, top agents live and lead conversion. Please write it down. Top agents live and lead conversion. I'm having a conversation yesterday with a couple different people who reached out to me and said, John, can we connect? And of course, my answer is always going to be yes, of course we can. And the common theme in these conversations where they're not hitting their goals, they're feeling like they're failing, and they don't know what to do. And I shared with them, this is simple. It's either lead generation or it's lead conversion. That's always going to be the two answers to every challenge you have as a real estate agent. It's either lead generation or it's lead conversion. So the first question I asked was, talk to me about your lead generation. Tell me what that looks like. Now, if we're hitting our lead generation standards and we're still not hitting our goals, now it's a lead conversion conversation. So the next question would be, tell me what those conversations sound like. If I'm a seller and you're lead generating and you want to meet with me, I'm thinking of selling my home. Go. What does that conversation sound like? Where are you getting stopped? All right, I'm going to come back to that in just a second. The next thing I want you to write down is change is inevitable. Participation is optional. The world is changing. Now, you can deny it. You can bury your head in the sand and just pretend it isn't true, or you can choose to take advantage of that and participate. How does that apply to you? How does that apply to your real estate business? Well, those are good questions. Those are questions that you should be asking yourselves. And if change is inevitable and participation is optional, are you participating? How are you participating? The next thing I want you to write down is no one can stop you except you. You are the only person who can stop you. Life is hard. Real estate is harder. And you're going to be tempted many, many times to give up because it's hard and no one can stop you except you. Now, let me tell you what else that sentence says to me. Whenever we set out to do anything big in life, we have big goals. The world, for the most part, doesn't like it. Now, why is that true? I don't know. I mean, I can tell you my opinion. In my opinion, I guess, is that when we're thinking big, it challenges other people who are settling for mediocrity. And they don't like that. They don't want to see somebody succeed at a really high level because then that calls them out for not doing the same thing. And people will try to stop you. They'll try to pull you down versus push you up. And I want you to remember that nobody can stop you except you. And you don't need the other guy to lose so you can win. Oh my gosh, I'm going to come back to that one. You don't need the other guy to lose so that you can win. All right, last thing, don't judge me when I make a mistake. Judge me based on what I do afterwards. I'm going to make a lot of mistakes. I've made a lot of mistakes. I'll continue to make a lot of mistakes. Watch to see what I do afterwards. Don't be a perfectionist. And don't be your own worst judge. The person who's going to judge you the most is you. And nobody here is perfect. None of you are ever going to live life without making mistakes. You're going to make a lot of mistakes. How you respond to those mistakes is what makes the difference. What are you learning? What are you doing differently because of those mistakes? All right, let's go back through and talk about each of these. Lead generation, lead conversion. Lead generation, what does that mean to you? So it means something different to everyone. And I know that when people listen to me, they hear prospecting for sell by owners and expireds because that's pretty much what I did in order to build my real estate business. But I'm not here to tell you that it's what you have to do. You never have to do it. Matter of fact, if you build a database and you build relationships with that within that database, and you become friends with everybody in your database, you become so valuable to them that every time they think of anything related to real estate, they think of you. You could build a massively successful real estate business just working with your database. You could build a massively successful real estate business using YouTube. You can farm multiple communities and build a successful real estate business. There's many different ways to get where you want to go. My challenge to you would be write down the number of listings you want to take every month between now and the end of the year. Write it down. Go ahead and do it right now. Is it 2? Is it 3? Is it 4? Is it 5? Whatever the number is, write it down. And then you create a plan to get there because it's non-negotiable. You create a plan to get there every single month, and I promise you, you'll do it. You may not do it in the first couple of months, but eventually you will do it. And that plan that you're creating is your lead generation plan. Now, when you're crushing your lead generation numbers, you're doing the things you need to do in order to get the number of listings you want to get, and you're still hitting that ceiling. You're not having a breakthrough. Pay attention to lead conversion. What I want you to do is I want you to start the exercise of writing down 5 questions every day. 5 questions that you could ask to a potential buyer or seller that will help them make a new decision based on new information. Remember, when you're hearing no, no doesn't mean no. No simply means not yet. And when you're hearing no, they're never going to change their mind, but they will make a new decision based on new information. And that new information is going to come in the form of a question. What are some questions that you could ask? If you're waiting to put your home on the market, I get it. That makes sense. And if there's more homes on the market in 6 months, when you put your home on the market for sale and there's more competition, is it going to be easier to sell your home when there's more competition or when there's less competition like there is today? What's important to you about waiting 6 months? If somebody showed up today with cash, what's your make me move price? If you sold your home, where would you move to? Are you living in your dream home? And if you're not living in your dream home, what is that? What does your dream home look like? What's stopping you from moving there? Well, that's a good question. Here's the thing about writing questions every day. Remember, I said I want you to write 5 questions every day. The thing about writing questions every day is you're going to find really good questions. And then you're going to look at some of the questions that aren't so good. I want you to just X through the questions that aren't good. I want you to keep the questions that you like. And I want you to use those questions when you're speaking to buyers and sellers. And all of this is going to lead to increased or better lead conversion. You don't sell and tell your way to an appointment. You don't sell and tell your way to a listing agreement or a buyer agreement. You consult your way to a listing agreement or a buyer agreement. And consultations are nothing more than asking questions. Here's another thing I want you to write down. Never run out of questions. The conversation doesn't end until you run out of questions. You're talking to a potential seller. Let's say it's an expired listing and they said, I've changed my mind, I'm not selling. Now, if you have no questions to ask, the conversation's over, right? Conversation's over. However, simple questions. By the way, I understand is a really good response because they want to be heard. So they say, I've decided not to sell my home. I understand. And just out of curiosity, if your home would have sold, where were you moving? What's important to you about moving to blank, whatever that place is? Tell me what your new home would look like. Why is a big backyard and a pool important to you? What would that do for your family? If you knew the market was at the highest point it's going to be at for the next 5 years, would you still wait? Did you own a home back in 2008? If you did and you didn't sell it by 2010, did you wish you would have sold your home back in 2008? Is it possible that this time could be like that time? If you knew that it was, what would you do? Right? I don't know how many questions that was, but those are all questions that I would have on an expired listing conversation. Remember, when you run out of questions, the conversation's over. All right, no one can stop you but you. What are you doing to stop yourself? What are you doing every day in order to put the brakes on? What would it look like if you didn't do that? Is it a mindset issue? Is it information that you don't have? Is it a knowledge conversation? Do you need to study more in order to be able to go farther? But the only person who can stop you is you. And you don't need the other guy to lose in order for you to win. So I'm competitive. Holy cow, I love competition. If we can make anything we do a competition, I'm going to make it a competition. If you and I are in a room and we're lead generating together, I'm competing with you to see who has the most conversations, who schedules the most appointments. Everything is a competition. But here's the thing, and this is where competition is not good. When we feel like the other guy needs to lose in order for us to win, who are we focused on? We're focused on the other guy. And that's the wrong thing to focus on. We need to focus on us. You win your game and don't pay attention to what the other guy is doing. Who cares? Now, this is true with companies as well. And you know, being pretty much on the outside looking in has given me an opportunity to see strengths and weaknesses of all these different companies. And here's one thing they all have in common. They want to beat the other guy. And do I need a competing brokerage to lose in order for me to win? No, I don't. Who cares? I have an abundance mentality. There's plenty to go around. Here's what I do know. I'm going to get my unfair share. And as long as I get my unfair share, I'm really don't care what everybody else does. I want them to be successful. They have families to feed too. I don't need the other guy to lose. And here's another thing all of you have in common. You come from different brokerages. You're currently with different brokerages, and your broker might hate my broker, and my broker might hate your broker. But that doesn't have to be your problem. You need to operate in a way that is, you're focused on what is good for you and what is best for your family. Period. The end. Here's one thing I know, and maybe it took me too long to realize this. The only thing I care about now is you guys. The only thing I care about is real estate agents and real estate agents' success. All these companies can compete against each other all they want, and all I'm ever going to do is focus on real estate agents and helping you get where you want to go. It's the only thing that matters to me. Nobody has to lose in order for me to win. All right, last thing. Don't judge me when I make a mistake. Judge me based on what I do afterwards. Let me take that a step further and just say, don't judge. Here's a huge problem. And I think maybe it's just technology hasn't made it so easy for us to judge. Tell me if you get on Facebook and you're looking at posts and you see a post and you're like, oh, that person again. There they go. Bragging about this, bragging about that. They got a new car, they got a new boat. Just makes you crazy, right? And how do I know this? Because I do that. And we live in a world that judges. We judge people on so many crazy things. And what if we just lived in curiosity and just kept a simple mindset that everybody is doing the best they can at the moment with what they got? everybody is doing the best they can at the moment with what they got. Just live in curiosity and stop judging. All right, talk to me.